My accountant is telling me I need to reduce expenses or I'm gonna go broke. So you know what my husband's bright idea to the solution would be? Kick me out of the house and our 2-year-old, just so he can save money where there's a secret he doesn't know, so I guess I'll tell him.
Hey, my name's Allie. I'm a 31-year-old woman. I've come here to tell my story because I have no one to fall back on right now, since my husband Ryan has decided to kick me and our 3-year-old son Leo out. I could have never even imagined that this is how we would treat us in a time of hardship. See, we've been struggling with money for some time now since I stay at home to look after Leo, and Ryan's salary's not enough to keep us going. But the last straw of our patience finally broke last week when the reality of his true self came to light. To provide you all with some context, Ryan and I got married 5 years ago. Our wedding was really lavish since his father is a businessman. Ryan had been working with his father Rick since he graduated. If I'm being honest, that is the reason why he never had any transferable skills, since he only worked on a very limited thing and did not do anything very substantial or important. For almost a year after getting married, we lived very comfortably and lavishly. But then Ryan's father found out that Ryan had been embezzling money from his father's company. Everyone, including myself, was in shock. His father is a multimillionaire and had given him a life of ease and comfort which was more than anybody ever dreamt of. And he was still stealing money from the company when he absolutely did not need, and was enjoying a very luxurious life while barely working. That was a very tumultuous time for our family, full of endless arguments and so much drama where his entire family called him ungrateful, greedy, useless snob, and how they failed to raise him right. They had enough of him, and even after Ryan apologized 1,000 times, his father was extremely disappointed in him. And so, after a few months of this drama, his father fired him and disowned him from the family, until he could prove that he could do something of substance by himself, and stand on his own 2 legs. And that was where our downfall started. Guys, this was also around the time I got pregnant with Leo. Although we were really happy, we were also really stressed out. Although I had a high-paying tech job that kept us going, I soon had to stop working because of my pregnancy. Ryan took a job as a restaurant manager, which was somewhat enough for both of us, but we knew once the baby came it would be hard. At the time, he told me that the job wasn't permanent, and that he was applying to some other places that would pay well, that it was only for the time being. After that, Leo was born, and it was a really happy time for us. Ryan was still working in the same job with promises of moving to something better soon. When Leo turned 1, that's when things started to get even more difficult since his expenses were increasing. Ryan and I started to fight a lot. It was an extremely stressful time, and it felt so crippling and hard to live with such a small amount of money. This was around the time when I had to move back home with my mom, as I was worried all the fighting and stress would affect Leo. Alright, cut 2 years later. Leo turned 3, and Ryan still stuck in the same job. It was all for a lack of trying, see. He was not applying to enough jobs, and the ones he was applying to, he wasn't actively following up. I could not go back to work because there would be no one to take care of little Leo, since Ryan was on the mindless quest to prove himself to his father, even if it came at the cost of his family suffering. So after 3 years, I had to get some sort of control over this, especially if he would not let me work, which is when I contacted an acquaintance of mine, who is an accountant, Jane, to help us with our finances. You know, for the beginning few months, we had started to get a handle of things. I was less stressed, and our money management had improved a lot. But then one day, Ryan came home and sat me down in a very serious mood. I got really scared. He began telling me that he had been having extra meetings with Jane, just to discuss our finances for the last few weeks, and that she told him that we were doing better than before, but we still needed to make a lot of cuts to sustain ourselves in the future. So I asked him, what cut exactly? What he said next, I could not even process it for a few seconds. He said that he has decided to divorce me. Then he proceeded to give his reasoning, saying that he would not be able to handle all the expenses on his salary. He said that he was tired of living on scraps even after working so hard, all because I spent so much of his salary. And because of that, there was nothing left for him. He also said how I was not even working and there was no way that he could sustain my life on his salary. I kid you not, the more I listened to him, I grew all the more angrier and enraged. I couldn't believe the ridiculousness coming out of this man's mouth. He said I don't work as if it was my choice to not work, when in reality we could not afford a daycare on his salary, and if I went to work it would inflate his huge ego. I was actually saving him thousands of dollars by staying at home, and I had not spent a single penny on myself for the last 3 years. I was the reason he was able to get a hold of his finances, since I urged him to seek an accountant. And now he was giving me an excuse of that very accountant to divorce me, making me sound like a liability who only wastes his money. I started to cry, asking him to please explain, but he did not even care to explain. He just said that this would give him some peace and quiet, and expected me to just accept it and move on. After all the torment I had put myself through, all because of this man's ego and incapability, while I was more than capable of making way more money than him. But I did not, because of this little petty feud with his dad. And still, he didn't have an ounce of gratitude. Instead, he saw me as a problem all along. And not just me, he wanted me to take Leo with me, since his expenses were also increasing and he could not keep up with it. He wanted his own son gone, all because he was greedy. My entire world was shaken that day, because this was the last thing I ever saw coming, especially the fact that he wanted me to take Leo with me. I cried a lot, but did not utter a word to him because there was no point. I realized instantly the kind of man that he's been all along. He expected me to argue or fight, but I was just done. In case he did not realize, I had been struggling too. I packed my bags and just left with Leo. This happened almost a week ago, and I've been living with my mother Susan since. She's been very supportive, and she thinks that I should sue him. But all the savings I have, I need them to take care of Leo and me until I start my job, which is also going to take at least a month. I also called Jane just to ask her that even though she was my friend, she had influenced Ryan to divorce me. As if all I've been was an expense and nothing more. But Jane said that she had never suggested anything remotely close like that to Ryan. In fact, her job was not to suggest anything to him, but to just provide facts about his expenses and which one of them are occupying the largest and smallest amount. It was his own duty to manage and cut back after that. It was his own decision to leave me and our son. Ryan has screwed me so badly, and yet I cannot do anything to get back at him. But to be honest, I don't want to, because all I care about is my son, and I just want to focus on our life now. I'm just really scared and nervous to go back to work, because what if my skills are obsolete now? And what if I don't find a good daycare for Leo? Do you all think that I should just go ahead and apply for a job right away? I do have some contacts that might be useful, but what if I sound selfish and desperate? I have so many questions, and it's so difficult to go back to my job even though I loved it. Ryan has ruined everything for me, and I don't know what to do about it, so guys, please help me and tell me what the hell I should do. What's up, everybody? Mr. Reddito here. I hope you're enjoying your day so far. Today's story is heating up. I want to know your thoughts about OP being forced to stay at home. Let me know in the comment section down below, but the first update is about to hit us. And OP says, oh my gosh, I completely forgot about this post. Update number 1. The last 7 months have been so intense and busy that it seems unreal that so much time has passed since I wrote it. I have a lot to fill you all in on, and all your supportive comments have really helped me. Before I start, I read some comments about how I only married him for his money, and that I'm not empathetic. If only I married him for his money, then why would I raise a kid with him and stay for 5 years, even though we were broke, and could barely afford basic necessities? If that was the truth, I would not have had a kid with him, because that binds us together forever. The only reason I stayed with him in such a condition is because I was empathetic and even helped him a lot. Anyways, after moving to my mom's house, I immediately contacted an old friend of mine at my old company. We talked for some time, and I told him about my entire situation. He said he felt really bad, and that it was good I left the house. He said that there was no job openings at his company as of right now, but he was determined to help me, so he would get back to me if he heard anything. Almost a week later, he said there was an opening at a company and they needed somebody for a very high-paying position. Well, I sent my resume, and it took him about a week to get back to me, and I went for an interview there, and it went pretty well. Well, let's cut 3 months later. I'd started working at a big company, earning 10 times the amount Ryan was bringing home. The people at work were amazing, and work excited me. I'd put Leo into a good play school that was within walking distance from his daycare. I moved out my mom's house 2 months after starting the job. But then, just a few months later, something very unexpected happened. In our happy little daily routine. It was a weekend, and I was on my way to take Leo to a play date. But almost an hour before that, the bell rang, and it was a very unusual time. It was Ryan. I asked him what he wanted and how he got my address, and he said that he got it from my mother. He basically badgered my mom for my address, and she gave it to him because he kept showing up at her place every day for 2 months straight. And she did not tell me because she didn't want me to take any stress. He said that he had made a huge mistake, and that I was the one helping him with his finances, but he pushed me away even though he loved me and Leo. He felt like he had no choice back then. Well, I said that that was no excuse for everything he put me through, because he made me give up my job all because of a petty feud with his father, and failed just to realize what was truly important, to which he very slyly responded that he knows his mistake and is willing to correct it. He said he wanted to just get back with me and that he would stay home taking care of Leo, no problem. I was free to work. It was at that moment that I realized the malice of this person's heart, and the only reason he showed up after months was because he needed money. I really wanted to scream at him, but I did not want Leo to get affected. I said that I'm not stupid, I'm not naive, that I would not just believe all his crappy lies, and that I knew he did not care about me or Leo, but only the money. I kicked him out and told him that I never wanted to see his face again. Guys, this happened almost 2 months back, and I had not heard from Ryan until 2 days ago. I get a call from his lawyer. Yeah, his lawyer. He told me that Ryan wanted an official divorce and had served me for full custody of Leo, since I refused to let him spend time with him. Bullcrap. He never even asked me or made an effort to spend time with him, and that was not it, folks. He also served me with an $80,000 alimony. Can you believe this man? The sheer audacity. I bet he only wants money, and Leo's custody is just a ploy to make himself look like a good father, and to incite me. I spent the entire day in so much anger. Guys, but after that, it was like, bring it on. I have enough money to hire the best lawyer in town, and there's no way Ryan is going to win this case. Because everything that's happened over the past few years only paints him in a very bad light. The only thing I'm slightly worried about is how this will all affect Leo. Divorce trial tends to take a toll on kids his age, and I really don't want him to feel like any of this is his fault. Because that's how I felt when my parents got divorced. How do I protect him from all this mess? I'm sure Ryan's not even thinking about him. Update number 2. Guys, I know, it's been a whole year since my last post. Because my feelings have been very conflicted and tough to express since the lawsuit with Ryan started. I have a lot to update you guys on. The lawsuit, it began almost a year ago, when I hired one of the best lawyers in town. He goes by Phil. He had a lot of experience with divorce cases and had never lost one. He spent months preparing me for the trial, prepping evidence, and all the ways Ryan could manipulate the past to screw me over. I had no idea how ugly everything was about to get. Messy. I asked my mother to just move in with us because I underestimated how much I was going to be out for this. And I didn't want little Leo to be alone for so long or feel isolated. Even though I know that he knew about the divorce, I didn't want him to think any of this was his fault. But honestly, the trial started to take a huge emotional toll on me as well. Between all the hearings, the constant trying to prove myself, and arguments with Ryan, Phil was huge help, of course, but there was only so much that he could do. Ryan accused me of isolating me from his child and for withholding my address from him for months, which was just so ludicrous. It angered me to a level I did not even know existed. But luckily, Phil had prepared for that too. The case went on for 8 months, and I was entirely drained. Mentally, emotionally, even though Phil approved it in court that I was the victim in this entire situation. Ryan was an absent father who abandoned me and Leo in times of hardship, even though I tried to help him and even gave up my job. The fact that he had embezzled money from his father's company only strengthened our case, which was the only good thing about those 8 months, that Ryan was clearly losing. Phil was very easily able to convince the court to revoke the alimony, since Ryan was the one who had decided on the divorce and left us just to fend for ourselves. After hearing all of this, the court's decision was pretty clear. I didn't owe him a penny, and Ryan should be glad that I'm not demanding alimony from him because there's no way that he could pay for all the damage that he's done to me. But the only problem was that the court's final hearing was that no matter how absent or bad of a husband/father he had been, Leo was still his son, which made his legal right for Ryan to spend at least weekends with his son. Phil tried his best to secure full custody of Leo, but this was a legal complexity we could not argue with after a point. So the divorce went through, no alimony to Ryan, and partial custody. Although I was relieved and really happy that he failed to exploit me any further, I was mostly sad and worried thinking about what Leo's life would look like now. Going back and forth between us both every week, I was also not sure what condition Ryan would keep him since the lawsuit was expensive. Leo began to go back and forth between us, and this has been our life for 4 months now, and I have still not completely gotten used to it. I've been really uncomfortable with all the drastic changes I have had to go through, but my discomfort was now turned into straight-up worry after what Leo told me a few weeks. He had just come back from Ryan's house, and in a normal conversation, he brought up how whenever he went over, Ryan only cooked food for him and never ate, anything himself. He stays with him 2 days a week, which means that Ryan stays hungry for 2 days. Who knows, maybe more. Ryan was clearly broke and could not afford food. This made me wonder what else could he not afford. I knew that the lawsuit would bleed him dry, which is why he demanded $80,000 in alimony. I at least found comfort in knowing that he was taking care of Leo, but I'm kind of getting worried about him now. Guys, I know I should not be thinking about him after all he put me through, but he is my son's father, and however way he lives his life, it affects Leo's life too. Do you think I should check on him? I think it's a risky idea, but I need to do something. It can't keep going on like this. Update number 3. Hey guys, I'm back after 6 months. I don't know why I keep forgetting about this post. Before I give you any further updates, I just want to thank you for being with me throughout this. It's been anything but easy, and I'm just so glad I had a place where I could talk about it without any pressure. After my last update, I knew that anything could happen. Every time I sent Leo to Ryan's house, I was so anxious and worried. It was really unpleasant because I could not help but think about them trying to figure out ways to solve the situation since it was very delicate after the lawsuit. But then, after a few months of living like this, something happened that I could not have expected even after all the unexpected things Ryan had put me through. One of those days, he came by just to drop Leo home. He asked if he could come inside because he wants to chit-chat about something. I said that I was really not in the mood for that or any more drama, and he said it was so important. He sat me down on the couch and straight up launched into a full-on speech. He said that he was terribly sorry for everything that he's put me through, and that he was finally starting to see everything crystal clear. Okay, which included the realization that until he figures his life out, he will only end up messing everything up with everyone in his life. Me, Leo, his family. He said that he had been a mess-up all his life, and he was done looking for shortcuts. He admitted he had been broke for months after the lawsuit, and it had been very difficult for him to look after Leo, which made him feel like a bad dad, which is why he had decided to give me full custody. I was really surprised because if I'm being honest with you guys, I just really did not think that this was where he was getting at. If he wanted to give me full custody, especially after he had gone broke fighting a case for it, things must be really bad. But this was all I had wanted all along, Leo's full custody. It was like the solution to all my problems just presented itself right there. Well, I was happy, but it was still impossible for me to feel any ounce of sympathy for him. You don't just manipulate someone, control them, kick them out, and exploit them, and then come back one day saying sorry, expecting everything to be hunky-dory. I told him that I was glad, and for the first time in his life, he had made the right decision. Although, even after he left, I was a little doubtful, because what if he was onto something? I don't know. Some sort of sick plan. I mean, I couldn't put it past him given the history. I contacted my lawyer, old Phil, and told him everything. He said that this was a pretty common tactic with parents who are broke. Just to spite their ex, they lodged these cases against them in hopes of getting alimony, but ultimately ends up getting them full custody since they can't afford it. So I was pretty relieved after this happened. I can't help but feel I did not have anything to do for Ryan's karma to hit him. It was all just a matter of time, and the right and wrong evened itself out. It's been 3 months since I've last heard from him, and I have no idea what he's up to, nor do I even care. Leo and I are finally living life the way we've always deserved.
Guys, here's the comment of the story. It's negative. It says, so, basically, you drained all of his money, took away his son, and left him on the streets. And you're living peacefully after knowing this fact. I don't know how you can celebrate the fact that you separated your kid from his dad. Of course, it's going to have a bad effect on him, duh. Maybe not now, but definitely when he turns to a teenager. Guys, what do you think about that? Do you think it will have an effect on the child? Drop your opinions and advice down below, and if you guys are new to the channel, I do a story like this every single day. Make sure you subscribe. I'll see you guys tomorrow, and of course remember, it's cool to be kind. Peace.